Hello, guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, children, the big child. Hello, it's Sunday and it's time for another live stream. So, how is everyone? I hope everyone is well. Taking a look in the chat, we have some people. Hello, good evening, folks. Auto Geek FPV, hello, Mike. Hello, Kilbree. Audio Geek again, KPV, hello, my friend. Stream Elements, hello, my friend. Thank you for waking up. Trini Weeks, Stefan, how are you? Drone Droid, Mike Bergman, Wood FPV, hello, Jasper, Expander, Hal, 9000, Zigzag, Ground Zero, that is some name. Wood FPV, if I missed you. Darkman, hello everyone, I hope you are safe and well. So tonight we've got some stuff to discuss, some stuff in front of me. See, there's things here we will talk about. We'll come back to that in a minute. We're going to talk a bit about ESCs because I think, and it's been a weird week on ESCs because there seems to be some telepathy or mind control going on because I spent quite a bit of time driving this week and I got to thinking about ESCs quite a lot. And it appears I'm not the only one. Blunty spoke about it on, I think it was the news, someone said, or it was their product roundup. I haven't actually watched it myself. And it's a subject I got thinking about with the pricing of things as it is today, but not just the pricing, but the shortage of components as well. Perhaps it's time to start thinking about the past and going back to singles. But more than that, I had some thoughts which I spoke about on the Discord server about chiplet ESCs, where you had a main board with the drivers and the multi-controllers on board, and then you had chiplet boards for the actual FETs that you could solder on and off. And someone is already doing this, or has at least thought of this. So we're going to take a look at that as well. We will inevitably talk about the DJI Mini 3, and I'm not going to have a huge amount to say on that, but I do want to discuss it because we've always covered the DJI stuff on this. No, I won't be buying one on launch, but I am really interested to see where it ends up, and there's some really interesting things already. And we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about anything else you guys want to talk about along the way as well as HDZero, Radio Master. There's a case. I have received a delivery from Radio Master. Thank you, Radio Master. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. Now, as always, guys, I'm here to answer your questions too. So if you do have any, please do put them in the chat. If you want to get your question highlighted and you want to support the channel, we do welcome super chats. I also turned on something else this week because YouTube sent me an email saying, hey, you can do this now. I can't remember what it was. It involves you giving it money and then it giving some of that money to me, but a much smaller portion of the amount you gave initially. But if you do want to support the channel, there are links as well. Now, I'm going to do a bit of shilling JB style here as well. If I hop over to the desktop view, here is my Discord server. We will be talking, and if you're not a member, there should be a link in the description that may or may not work. Please do let me know. It has a habit of just expiring. It should now be fine because I brought it over from last week's, but here is my Discord server where we discuss a lot of this stuff. And I also want to say a massive thank you to all of my Patreons. There is a dedicated Patreon area, but no one talks on there. But I want to say thank you to those guys as well. But I know JB does it very smooth. JB, I always tend to watch JB's live streams if I get a chance. I do watch a bit of live streams. I've also got, I try to watch enough live streams to make sure that I'm not copying people, because it's easy to sort of fall into someone else's style as well. But yes, so there's a lot to talk about, and I have a cup of tea hiding behind this radio as well, so I'm going to have a sip of that first. So the first couple of subjects which I'm going to talk about this week, I'm going to get a couple of things out the way. The first one is the HDZero VRX. If you haven't seen, Ryan has put a video up on his channel. He's a great guy. There's a slight delay in the new VRX module, nothing fundamental, but there is a slight delay. They're just doing some tweaks to the RF front end. Carl did speak to me about this on my interview with him as well. If you haven't seen, I put the interview up Wednesday. That's on the channel. It's over an hour. It's there if you want to see it. There's a couple of other little clips I'm going to be sharing on that soon as well over the next couple of weeks. I wasn't going to hold it back. I could have put it out there so it got more hype and stuff, but I wanted the video out there because it's a real important one, and I wanted to make sure people seen it. But I have got a couple of other clips from it. But yeah, there is a slight delay on the VRX. It shouldn't be long. It's just some tweaks on that front end for the RF. That's all it is. Basically, if you saw Ryan's original video, they were getting some front end overload on the early models, and they're just doing some tweaks. This is part of the new baseband chip that Carl has designed himself, which he talks about in my video. And they're just sort of tweaking a few things before they go out the door, basically. That's what they're doing. It's not a big delay, but things are still difficult in China. Things are still a little bit all over the place over there. Now, further to that, this week has been HDZero Repair Week for me because I've had a couple of people send me over some stuff to have a look at. The first is this one here, which is a user's VRX module, which wasn't working, and we've repaired it. And there is a repair video coming on this on the channel in the next couple of weeks. And I've also been sent 4 VTXs to have a look at as well, where we've got a race version 1, which we've repaired. That's done and dusted. There'll be a video coming on that. I think we've resolved a second one. The other 2 I don't think are going to be goers. I've tried to do something which isn't quite working out, but we'll see. But I have learned a hell of a lot about the HDZero VTXs in the last couple of days. And a big shout out to the guys who've sent stuff over to me to have a play with. The VRX was very straightforward. It had blown the internal fuse, which we'll talk about swapping. The VTXs are a bit more complicated. One thing I've understood very quickly is the MIPI chip on the VTX is the Whoop VTX that's on a board is extremely fragile, and it will break if you're not careful. Because people can put the cable tie over it, it's easy to break the chip. So that's something to be aware of as well. Now, let me just hop over to what else I was going to talk about first. I have this week also had a couple of messages back and forth with Trappy. So for those who regularly follow the channel, I did put a bit of a live stream clip up where I was complaining about TBS. And I thought my door moved. Is my door moving? No, it's not. I was complaining about TBS and the ongoing issues with Crossfire, Agent M, and all of this stuff. And the video started to get posted on the TBS Facebook group. And I did notice it was thinking. So I thought I would send Trappy an email. And I reached out to him. And he seems a very nice gentleman. He very kindly replied. And we had a couple of messages back and forth. I said, I'm an asshole. I'm the guy giving you trouble. And I spoke to him about some gimbals as well, which I may be getting a set to have a look at. I will be getting a set regardless because I'll just buy them. But he has got some he may be able to send me. So they basically haven't fully gone into production base supply yet. It's all going into new radios, as I understood it. But I had a few messages back and forth with him. He seemed a great guy. He hadn't seen the video, but I just approached him and said, hey, look, I'm the asshole that's been slagging you off on YouTube. And we had a few messages back and forth. And it's as simple as that. So I want to say thank you to Trappy for replying to me. Also, if you haven't seen his live stream this week, there was quite a bit of info on there, and it's worth mentioning, actually. So they did another TBS lounge, and I know some people will say, yes, they've announced it, but it's not here. Basically, Agent M and Agent X are going, and they're being replaced with a new version, which is going to be Agent Desktop, Agent Mobile, and Agent Online. This should resolve all of the issues for users. we have the new test firmware for Tracer with LoRa coming in the next couple of weeks. I think he was going to announce the new gimbals for the Mambo. So these are new plastic but upgraded gimbals with metal parts in certain places. So these are the version 2 gimbal. It's not a version 2 Mambo, but it's a version 2 gimbal. And all of the comments Trappy is saying is, for all intents and purposes, it'll be very hard to tell these from very, very high-end gimbals. I know someone has got them already. There's some guys out there with them. Kilbury send gimbals in both radios. Yes, it is. But the idea of these new upgraded gimbals is they're much tighter tolerances, better plastics, and metal parts in certain areas. And they should feel much, much better than the current gimbal. And the question will be, and this is going to be the really interesting question, how will they feel compared to metal gimbals? I think he said you can lick them without them being freezing as well, which is a bonus. So they are plastic, but they're made of different materials, and they should be better quality, and they're going to be substantially cheaper. I think he was talking like $25 each, which is half the cost of a CNC gimbal. So that's going to be interesting. That is going to be interesting. He has offered to try and dig out a new set and send them, but I may just wait for the final production so I can talk about final production rather than have a set which are like pre-production. In some way, I really appreciate the offer of a pre-production set, but I would probably be better with a final production set, just so if I'm going to talk about them, I know that's what you're going to be getting, other than variations in quality, but again, I just want to say a massive thank you for Trappy to replying to my message. He came across as a good guy. And I explained sort of that might be the price for the pair. I could be wrong. Was it $25 a pair? If that's the case, it's even a bigger bargain. I could be wrong. But yeah, I reached out in the usual way I do reach out to people, which is, hey, I'm the idiot who's been slagging you off. Fancy a chat? But I explained some of my thoughts. That is a piece. No, I thought it was a piece. I thought it was $25 each, which is still half the price of an AGO1 or whatever it is. But it was good to hear they've got a path and they're hoping to get a lot more improvements and stuff out the door in the near future. So that's good to see. Okay. Gimbal is the new game changer. No real good radio without additional gimbals. Somehow bad base gimbals get worse. Good for having an opportunity. Yeah, what's really interesting, and actually, here, let me show you. I have a Zorro. Radio Master have very kindly sent me one. No, I don't have AGO1 minis. They weren't able to send me a set. But we have a Zorro with their new stick ends as well, which I'll be talking about. So I'll be talking about that in the next couple of weeks. I have to say, the gimbals on this radio is very, very good out the door. Very, very good out the door. There's not a lot of flex in them. There really isn't. Nothing like the Mambo and the T16S. The Vision one. Okay, catching up with the chat before we go into DJI. We'll get DJI out the way first, and then we'll move on to the ESC stuff, because there's a lot to talk about on the ESC stuff. They did. Radio Master did. We had one from Radio Master. They sent me a Zorro, a case, and a couple of gimbal ends. So a massive thank you to Radio Master for doing that. So let's talk about DJI first of all. I know not everyone likes it, but let's get it out the way. So there's a lot to talk about on this, but I'm going to try and keep it as short as I can. For those who haven't seen, there has been a number of reviews or info leaked and then reviews of the Mini 3. A user on YouTube, let me just find him here, DM Productions, has put out 3 or 4 videos on this now. I haven't watched them all. I haven't watched enough of them to understand if he said where he's got it. My bets are he's bought one from Argos. That's where my bets are. My understanding of this situation is that the Mini 3 was actually delayed. Argos, if you didn't see in the UK, a dealer, posted them on their website. Someone else appears to have bought one. And it seems that he's been able to buy one as well, whether he knows someone in the store, whether he knows another dealer. Argos have now made a change that stops people buying them, which means it costs £9,000 or they've put them 900,000 or something. They've basically put the price up to a crazy number to stop the till, won't let people actually order them. But it appears Argos posted it because it was delayed and they didn't change their website. So it appears this DM Productions guy has got hold of a fully legit version. It was sealed. I watched him unbox it. I don't believe for 1 minute he's on the beta program, although something that was very interesting is he has got DJI affiliate scheme links in his description. Now, that affiliate scheme is basically closed to anyone who isn't in DJI's sort of test circle. So I don't know what the score with that is. However, when you do go onto his videos, and I'm going to get an advert now. Oh, no, I'm not. We'll come on to that. He does have DJI click links, okay, which would imply he is using the DJI affiliate program, which I used to be a part of, but they never renewed it when they kicked everyone out. But they may have renewed it for him, unless he's still using the old click links from the old affiliate program. But I did notice that, and that was rather interesting. And the reason I say that was rather interesting is DJI basically only opened up the affiliate scheme again for the people they wanted to deal with and told everyone else, sorry, no. They didn't even reply to my reapplication after I was one of the first ever people involved in it, and I was even interviewed for it on DJI Forum. He could, but if it's that closed now, I don't see how there would be a benefit to using someone else's. Potentially, it could be someone else's one. There's no question about that. It could be someone else's one. But I just thought that was interesting. That's all. But he's done a couple of reviews. He saw it flying the aircraft. It appears he's got one legitimately. I believe he can't be under NDA, because if he's under NDA, he's just broke every part of it. And we'd have all been under NDA when we did the testing. I was when I did it. So he's put out a bunch of videos. I think my thoughts on it so far, I'm not really excited, I'll be honest. There really is nothing fundamental here. It's another mini drone. It's got rear object avoidance sensing now. It's got a camera that can go vertical, just like the Mavic Pro did. It's got this cut back remote, and this is the real interesting bit, actually, is this remote controller, not the drone itself. The drone is evolution. iPhone 7 to iPhone 8, iPhone 8 to iPhone 9 or 10, because they skipped the 9, didn't they? But you know what I mean. There's nothing magical here in the drone. Where the really interesting thing is the remote. Now, this remote, okay, is a sort of copy of the RC Pro, but it's quite a bit lighter, almost half the weight. It's, I think, 365 grams compared to 600 odd on the RC Pro. So it's missing HDMI, it's missing some buttons, and it's clearly missing other stuff to be that much lighter. It appears to have the same nit screen, but we don't know for sure, and it's a heavily restricted Android operating system. You cannot even run third-party apps on it. So it seems that they've heavily modified the remote to cut the cost out of it. Because if you look at this, right, what's really interesting on this, the cost of this remote and drone is less than the RC Pro in itself. So there's clearly something they've done, but I will be interested to see how users of the Mavic 3 get on, complaining that they've paid a lot of money for their RC Pro. You know, so we have the videos. I think he's done a decent job. I'd have done it differently, but we all do it differently. I think he's covered a lot of stuff. He's done a great job on that. Wherever he's got it, he's got it. I wish him all the best with that. They removed the lead weights that give it a premium feel, is the truth. Those weights cost $300. Pricing is going to be decent. It's going to give Autel a problem, because if you look at the Nano Plus, which I reviewed on this channel, which I really liked, I think it's fairly decent drone. But this is a much better deal. You're getting that remote, you're getting the drone. I'm not excited by it, because this just is everything they've done before in a different package. There's nothing new here. We've had the vertical rotating drone. But actually, the only new thing is it can look up virtually all the way. That's the only real new thing here. So that's why I'm not particularly excited about it. Is it going to be a better drone than the Mavic 2 Pro? I don't know. I've got a Mavic 2 Pro. Mine's there. I still find myself struggling to replace that with any of these others. I don't need the flight time. I don't need any of the other things. I think for people coming in, it's going to be a really good package, because you're not going to have to buy the phone. You're going to have basically everything in one kit, which is good. You're going to have the drone, the aircraft, the batteries, and the remote. It's all good. It's a good price, I think, for what you're getting. It's overall a good package. But there is nothing here brand new. There is nothing here particularly special. It's a cutback smart controller, or RC Pro. It's a A2S, which is smaller, lighter, not as good camera. So it's tough. It's a hard one to say, oh, this is amazing. Is it impressive that they've got all of this under 250 grams? Yes, but Autel did it first. So it's, DJI aren't even the leader here. Autel have done all of this already. Will the RC Pro connect to the Vistas? No. The RC Pros won't connect to DJI units. I've saw some questions. FPV goggle support? We don't know. Something I did notice, there is no mention of FPV on the box of that drone. There were early leaked images that seemed to suggest something called FPV Pro. But that is not on this box. So there is no hint of goggle support at all. That FPV Pro thing seems to have vanished. So whether that was fake, doctored, I don't know. Or perhaps there'll be a different product coming with that. But it does appear that FPV Pro thing doesn't think. At the moment, there's no talk of support for anything on the FPV side at all. There's no hint of it. There isn't even confirmation that this new remote will work with the Mavic 3 or the A2S or any of the others. We just don't know. We just don't know. So we have a Mini 3. It's going to be available this week. This gentleman's bought one. He's got one. It's going to be interesting to see what's his view numbers on his videos. Let's just have a look, because he's a big channel. He's bigger than us, but he's not massively. Mini 3. What's his views? So what's he got on this? Let's click on his channel and look at his videos. Because you're going to have all of the usual suspects putting videos out this week. iPhondo, bloody iJustine, and all of these. Casey Neistat probably won't, but you'll get Kai Wen will. I don't know if Philip Bloom will. You'll definitely get Potato Jet do one, and Peter McKinnon will be doing one. They always do. These are all DJIs. Oh, yeah, and We Talk UAV, who just, as far as I can see, are on DJI's payroll. Could be wrong on that, but that just seems to be something like that. I don't quite get that one myself. But if we look at the numbers, okay, we've got 62K, 215,000. That's had big numbers. 94K, 123K, 23. There, so he started there. So he's had big numbers already. He really has. His analytics are going to be all over the place, right? Because he's had all these big numbers, and then he's going to be back down to the lower numbers like he had before. That's the problem. His analytics are going to go... Boo. But you'll have all of the people come out. I think he's done a decent job. I didn't know who the channel was. I've never seen him before. He's a Brit, so it's always a win. But you'll still get the likes of iPhondo and all of these others get big views because that's just going to happen. You know, that's just going to happen. I'm not excited by it. I think it looks decent. Is it enough for me to sell my Mavic 2 Pro? Probably not, I'll be honest. Checking in the chat, James, I have my Mavic Pro, was one of the first buyers. I'm going to buy this package because I cannot resist. I love all the convenience. You know what? I think it's probably Mavic Pro users a no-brainer upgrade because it's going to be better image, better everything. It is going to be better than a Mavic Pro in every way. And I do think, you know, I'm not saying this drone doesn't have a market. It does. I think it's a harder sell. You know, if you're an A2S owner, why? If you're a Mavic 2 Pro owner, I think it's a hard sell unless you need the flight time and the size. I think DJI have a bit of a problem where they've hit this Apple upgrade problem. You know, I'm a Mavic 2 Pro owner. The A2S, the Mavic 3, and now this are really not big enough upgrades for me to warrant it. You know, it's a nice package with that remote. I think they'll do really well with it because it takes out the problems of people with their different remotes, you know what I mean, phones and devices and all of that lot. But then again, if you've got a good phone, you can save a lot of money by not having that remote. We don't know, though. Are they going to ship it without that? Lester from above. Good evening, my friend. How are you? Michael off Axis. So, look, I think there's, from what I can see, there's nothing bad here. What is really interesting, though, and this will be my hot take, they clearly delayed it because the software isn't ready. Because the hardware is in retailers' hands. So, the reason for the delay is clearly software. They were not ready. China's going through some tough stuff right now as well. They really are. It's hardly surprising. Talking to Carl the other day, listening to Trappy. There is a lot going on in Hong Kong and China right now. Every company is struggling. So it does seem that they're behind on software. That's what I would suggest. That's why this gentleman's been able to go out and buy it. The base software is ready, but they'll probably push the launch back for a big firmware update, and then on day one there'll be a big firmware update that brings a lot of the features that they've talked about. So I think that's it. I think it's looking interesting. It probably, if I'm genuinely honest, it would probably be the perfect drone for me right now for the ready-to-fly stuff. June or July, that's probably a very real possibility, Lester. Yeah, that sounds the case. They will be struggling. They really will be struggling with production. Everyone is. Everything is in a tough position right now across the world. And we'll come on to that in a minute in our ESC discussion. I can't remember what they said the UK price will be. Genuinely, it would probably be the perfect drone for me right now. I'd probably use it a lot more than I use my Mavic 2 Pro. Do we know if it does active track? Has there been any comment on active track? I haven't noticed. That's one thing I haven't seen. If it does active track, it'll probably be the perfect drone. I know it's got object sensing. James. 869. Yeah, 900 quid. Could probably get that for my Mavic 2 Pro, couldn't I? It might be... It would probably get more use than the Mavic 2 Pro. I'll be honest. It probably would. So, okay. So that's enough for DJI. We don't know anymore. We don't know anymore on the FPV. There's no news on FPV. There's no news on anything else. It's all quiet. We don't know what's going on. There's no support for FPV goggles. There's no news at all. That's the score with DJI right now, other than there being a Mini 3. Now, I have this week... Don't do it. It's size and space, mind. DJ's delivered wholesale channels, pre-orders, channel, so good channel, says to get one. Yeah, I think, Argos will probably have one. Color 6. Yeah, we'll have a look at that thing. Okay, I think I'll just hide that one. Okay, Rabid, I think, can you just not, please? Okay, so that's the end of the DJI stuff. Let me just get up to where I am. If you got any questions? Oh, wow, okay. I just need to ban someone, guys, because you won't believe some of the comments. Let me just grab that a minute. I just screen grabbing that a minute for my own use. And then I need to ban someone. Wow, okay. You will not... Oh, thank you, James. Right, Rabbi, I'm gonna give you one more chance, my friend. And otherwise, it's gonna be bye-bye. Okay? So, moving on. I did receive a parcel this week from DJI. Let me show you what it is. Yeah, sorry, it's time for him to go. Peppermint, did you see them? I think... Yeah, I think if anyone else saw some of that stuff, wow, okay. Yeah. Have you guys hidden him? Yeah, thank you, mate. That was okay. So, I received this week. Can you see what it is? Let me go in the overhead. The magic case. The magic case that allegedly makes the camera from DJI work properly. I haven't... Yeah, he needs to go. I haven't tried it yet. It's still in its box, but it's the magic case that fixes all of the DJI problems. I'm going to have to test it properly, and I'm going to do a video on it and see what it does. So this case makes it work, apparently, and not overheat and not do anything crazy. But we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see. Trials and tribulations of a live stream. Yes, it is. So we've had the case from DJI. We will be trying this on the Action 2 and seeing what it actually does. Does it keep it cooler? What of its magical beam properties that DJI have created? Only time will tell. I thought you would make calls on it. Yeah, the bumper for the iPhone 4 that said you were holding it wrong. That's correct. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk a bit about is quickly the Zorro, because I do have a Zorro before we move on to ESCs. Let me go on the overhead. Radio Master have very kindly sent me one. As you can see here, I've installed their new nuts as well. What they call these things? Let me just find them. They're ripping nuts, they call them. On the radio as well. I have to say, there is a lot to like on this radio. It's not actually any smaller than the Mambo. For the Mambo users, It's not actually any smaller. The actual physical footprint is basically the same as the Mambo. Let me just grab it. But what is massively different is the weight. So if you put the Mambo in the case, you can see the Mambo is roughly the same size. So you put the radio over the top. You know, externally, they're very, very similar. However, the Zorro is almost half the weight. To give you guys an idea, right? My Mambo with its batteries weighs 663 grams. And the Zorro with the batteries weighs 394. There is a substantial difference in weight between these two radios. Now, obviously, it uses 18350s, which are very, very small. Had to buy another set as well. But I will be talking about all of this in the review. I've done a huge amount of testing on the battery side of things. I've got charts showing the power usage and some things. And there is some settings you can do on this to make things a little bit better, actually. It's not all bad. But I have to say, there is a lot to like about this radio. But yeah, I've also got their new super sticky nuts. Really spiky as well. And they do make a big difference. One of the things I noticed on the Zorro is the sticks felt very anemic in use. It's not that they weren't thin. They're still 8mm, and they're all 8mm like on the other radios. But the original sticks feel very thin on the fingers. And to me, the trim I used was anemic. However, with these racing nuts, well, not racing nuts, but ripping nuts, as Radio Master call them, they're available in different colors. They do black ones, they do silver ones, but I put red ones on as well. Radio Master sent them to me with the radio. But yeah, I'm quite pleased at all. There's a lot to like here. There really, really is a lot to like, and very, very few downsides. But one thing I will say is these gimbals are very good. Even the plastic ones. The tolerances are very, very good on them, especially compared to the Mambo and the others. You're not going to get 18650. Okay, there has been a mod with fitting 18650s, but you're not going to do that with the HDZero Minis. You have to start shaving bits of plastic off the gimbals to do it. Not a good idea. I would, instead than mess around like that, simply buy more batteries. You can get these in 1200 milliamps as well. These are 9s and you can get 12s. Okay, so you can get 1200s for the radio if you want to. That will fit. You do have to make sure you get button tops and non-protected. These aren't protected cells anyway, as far as I can tell, so they're no more dangerous. But you can get 1200s. I would simply get them. To give you an idea, I'll share this with you guys now. There is some interesting behavior on this radio. Let me just find the chart. 2 seconds, because I haven't prepared for this. But let me just find it so I can show you guys. Radio Master, there we go. I will show you some of the power usage of the radio. So, just to put this up. Okay, so you guys can see here. This is the power usage. Amp draw at 8 volts. So what you're getting is amp or milliamp, I should say. So it's all milliamp draw. So if you have no RF, the radio with the screen on draws about 132 milliamp. With the screen off, it draws 82 milliamp. If we then go down the power at 25 milliwatts, with the screen on is 400 milliamp or 347. What's really interesting is the screen draws about 50 milliamps of current continuously, okay, with the backlight on. So if you set the backlight to go off when you're not pressing buttons, so you can set that in the radio that the backlight comes on when you press the buttons but not the sticks, you can save 50 milliamp. And that can add up, especially when we're talking up here at 250 milliwatts, it draws about 470 milliamp compared to 410 with the screen off. So on the 900 milliamp packs, up to maybe 2 hours of use max. But I think people are seeing a bit less than that because you're not going to get 900 milliamp out of them. You're going to be getting slightly less. But as long as you set it on dynamic, right? As long as you set it on dynamic mode, maximum 250, it will automatically set the RF output. And there's no reason with the screen off you couldn't go 2.5 hours on one set of batteries. So just get a second set of packs. I'll be honest, there are lots of modifications you could do to the radio. There are lots of changes. I know someone has done 18650s. Did someone say 8? What about 18500s, suppose, but you're hacking it up. You may as well just buy 3 sets of batteries. Another thing is, it charges quite quick. So something to add on it, the Zoro will charge at 2 amp. So if you've got a 2 amp battery bank, you can charge this radio quite quickly. So you could just plug it into USB-C between flights or when you stop for 5 minutes. You certainly can get around it. I've not run out yet. Or you can just install that external pack, which it has the option of doing, which you can do. You can install that external. The huge headway, high current, life for batteries. I've seen 18350s at 1200 milliamp. If you get the 1200s, you're going to get plenty of time. Yeah, it charges quick. It doesn't take too long to charge, but it sucks in 2 amp. So on USB. So you're going to get power in quite quickly. It's not going to take long. It's not going to take long to charge. You know, that's at 5 volt, mind. So remember, there is DC to DC going on to charge other packs. But I do need to time a full charge, actually. I haven't timed it. I've just monitored how much current goes in, which is interesting. You can use the non-button top 18350 terminals are springy enough. Will it go? Because I didn't think it would pass the plastic on the other side. Is it just there? I wasn't going to recommend non-button tops just because it looked tight, because there's plastic that sticks out either side of the thing. But yeah, you know, it's got a good charge current rate on it. You know, if I just show you guys, you know, this has been flown today. I think the battery thing is, would we like bigger batteries? Yes. Would we have preferred more battery or larger capacity? Yes. But it isn't end of the world. It really isn't. 1 second. So what we have here is a USB-C. Let's go on the overhead. This is my USB-C, which is on just a standard adapter, a 5 volter. This isn't on a high power delivery or any of them. If we plug him down and in, you can see the radio starts charging. And you can see, I don't know how well you guys can see that. There you go. 2 amp. So she'll draw 2 amp on charge. 9 watts, or 10 watts in fact. So she'll charge pretty quickly. You know, it's certainly not terrible. You can get around it, I'll be honest. 2 sets of batteries and a USB pack. Just going to put that there and I'll leave it on charge a minute. And it's absolutely fine. It really is. So I'm going to be doing a full review on the Zoro. As I said, I don't have the HDZero ones. I would like to put in my pocket and charge my... Use that. Could do the same with the Zoro. Yeah, you could do... Literally, all you need is a USB adapter and just plug the Zoro in. There's nothing here fundamentally. And something, I'll be honest, I haven't noticed the battery life any worse than the Mambo. But I haven't done current draw measurements on the Mambo, so I could do with doing that and having a look at what the Mambo uses with a module. And I suspect It's not terrible. It's not terrible. The batteries aren't expensive, but get the 11-1200s. I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be fine with it. So I am going to be doing a full review on that in the next couple of weeks. I'm just going to add in now before we move forward. Charge capacity with a T6, charge capability with a T16S. Mark 1 or Mark 2? I can do a Mark 1 now. So do you mean how much this will draw? Do you mean how much current it'll take? Yeah, basically, Radio Master have... they want to do all of the pre-orders. They've sent out all of the stuff for the KOLs. Lowest I've seen a Mambo is 3.8 volt. Okay. Let's do the same. Oh, wait, I'm not sure my adapter will go in. All right, well, I've just got to turn it upside down. 1 second. Uh, 1.7 amp. Let me just show you that. Oh, that's interesting. It's stopped charging. Is that because it's fallen out? Yeah, it has. 1.7. It's a bit of a funny fit on this radio. Yes, the AGO1 Minis will fit the TX12. Chris, yeah. The AGO1 Minis will fit the TX12. Yeah, about 1.7 amp. So it's less on this. The only thing I don't know is what the state of the battery is on this, but I'm not expecting it to be full. So it charges faster. It puts more current in than this. I'm going to put that back on charge. Yeah, that definitely takes more current. That definitely takes more current. Yeah, I just find the TX, AGO1 Minis, TX12 and Zorro, I just find the TX16S too big. Genuinely, I find it too big a radio. This is the perfect size, and the Zorro is the same. The only real thing I found with the Zorro is I'm holding the radio differently, whereas this I sort of hold... let me come back out. Whereas this, I sort of hold like that. I'm a combination, so I'm not a pinch or a thumber. I tend to fly like that, you know, is how I am. I'm quite comfortable in that. I found the sticks on the Zorro a bit anemic. They weren't thing, but they're much better with these new nuts. Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think the Zorro is a very, very good radio. A very, very good radio. Indeed. It really is. I don't miss the color screen. It's interesting, though, right? Here's something funny. Right. I'm going to get myself into trouble with Trappy again now. Let me show you something. So, if we go on radios a minute, I'm going to get myself into trouble here. With search. Mambo. TBS Mambo radio controller. Okay. Something I'm going to get myself into trouble for. So, let's look at the specification, shall we? Specification of the Mambo. Display. 3.5-inch LCD panel. Okay. 3.5-inch LCD panel. Okay. Let me turn this on so you can see the display. Just so you guys can see it. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Got my vernier. So we're going to measure the display corner to corner. You just get it in the right spot. There to there is bang on. That's 2.9 inches. That is not 3.5 inches. You don't measure a display that way. You measure a display corner to corner. 2.9 inches. If you measure to the outside bezel, 3.5 inches. So 3.5 inches is including that bezel. That screen is not 3.5 inches unless some of it is underneath. It's possible, but... Sorry, Trappy, but I found this out today, measuring the screen, because I thought, what size screen is it on the Mambo when I was doing my review for the Zorro? When I measured it, it was like 2.8, 2.9 inches. And I'm like, it's a funny size. And I went on the website and went, 3.5 inches. What's going on here? It may physically be a 3.5 inch display, but that's not how we measure a display in any part of the real world. You measure it corner to corner, visible area. Apart from old CRTs. CRTs used to go beyond a little bit. Terminal insanity. I can't possibly comment. I don't want to get myself into trouble with Trappy anymore. But that was a genuine observation I found today, measuring the screen on the other radios. And just for clarity, the Zorro and the T16S have the screens the same size as what the marketing says. And apart from the rounded phones. Yeah, exactly. It could be a 3.5 inch screen inside, but that's not how we measure it in any normal real world. We would normally measure visible area, or in CRTs, tube to corner to corner. Used to on CRTs just measure, you'd have the tube. You might lose 0.5 inch. You might lose 0.5 inch on a, but it wouldn't fly. But in LCD terms, a measurement of screen area would usually be the visible area of the display. And you would give someone, you know, 1 mil or 2 grace, let's say, even maybe 2 or 3 mil. But 0.7 of an inch, it's quite something, isn't it? But yeah, if you've got a Zorro, measure it. Weird. Very weird indeed. I don't know. Now, that's on that. Just a quick one before we move on. My review of the O4Xs will be going live this week on the channel. So if you're interested in seeing that, please do make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. Everyone here, we have 100 of you. Please do give us a like. Please do give us a thumbs up before we move on. It helps the analytics. If you want to support the channel, there are links to Patreon as well as Buy Me a Coffee. I missed GR Pro. After seeing the Tango 2 needing a revision of the module on the back, it just says TBS is money hungry. I won't buy TBS. I'm trying not to cause any hot takes this week because I've caused enough trouble for Trappy now. But that, I just found that out. Anyone can measure their radio. Can you still charge electricity at Vision 1 while simultaneously using it on the simulator? Should be fine. I believe you could. I believe you can. I don't see a reason why not. I haven't tried it, but you should. Quite something, isn't it? That's what she said. It's, in LCD terms, that's quite the display difference. Yeah. LCD panel. I'm wondering if they're measuring the panel size corner to corner and there's like a bead over it, but that's not usually what it would be. I'd be interested to know, does anyone, what do they say the screen size is on a Tango 2 before I move over? Radio transmitters TX. Almost the tip. Yeah, it is. It's a, if you were going to say a percentage of what it is, I bet it's huge. Tango 2. Did they say what size the screen is on the Tango 2? I haven't got one to measure, but I'd love it if someone did. No, they don't. They don't actually say the screen size on the Tango 2. They just say high resolution OLED. It may be a mistake on the marketing. It may simply be a mistake on the marketing. But it don't look like 3.5 inches to me. Is a panel really Community pressure. Okay, so the next subject is we're going to talk about ESCs. Now, this has been an interesting subject this week, and it's been partly driven by the release of a new ESC by Foxeer, which is the Reaper, which was being priced at a dealer. Let me just see if I can find it. It was being priced at like $120 odd. Does anyone... Let me just see if we can find out where it was. It might have been at Race Day Quads. Featured price high to low. Let's have a look. There it is. Sold out. The Reaper. $125. Now, this has raised a lot of interesting questions around A, the cost of components and where we're going right now. Yes, sold out at that price. But B, for me, it got me thinking about, is it time to start looking at going back to singles and what the options are? Because I haven't looked at singles for some time. And B, what are the alternatives? And this got me thinking about design and whether we could sort of, as a community, come up with a design. But someone is already doing this. And one of the things I got in my head was a chiplet design. And I'll be honest, that idea came from what AMD are doing with their processors. For those who don't know, let me come off the screen a minute. AMD do their processors as a chiplet design, and they combine different chiplets to get different core sizes and all of that. And I had this thought for ESCs because predominantly when you blow an ESC, most of the time you're blowing a FET on one motor, or it's burning that FET through the board and it's destroying it. Now, that doesn't mean we can't fix them. That doesn't mean there isn't room for some repair here. But I sort of got to thinking of, would there be a way of designing an ESC in such a way where you had the main base parts of the ESC on one board and then a second part, maybe a second layer board, where you had 4 segments that were soldered, which could be replaced. And it was this chiplet design. Now, we'll take a look at something in a minute, someone who's already done this. Because someone has already thought of this idea and started putting something together. Now, this guy is called Engelbert Lai, FPV, or bertfpv.com. We'll have a look at his website. And he's put up this post. Is it this one? No, it's not that one. Let me just find it. Where he's showing a chiplet design for an ESC. Let me just find the post he showed. I got it off my Discord server. One of the guys on the Discord server posted it. Let me just find it today. General chat. No, not there. Let me just come down. This one here. So this will be the post here. Let me try and... Can I make this bigger? How do you make things bigger? He sort of shows a chiplet design. Come on. No, I can't make it bigger for you guys, unfortunately. But what he has is like a chiplet design for the ESC. But this guy is designing his own boards. And he's actually on the Blue Jay forum. And he's designing his own custom ESCs, where you'll be able to build them yourself. And he's got a website with this on, which is over here, where he's starting to go down the road. And he's published all of the stuff on Easy EDA. So you can see we've got an ESC flight controller, ESC. And he's not doing big current ones at the moment. It's all smaller stuff. But I did like this idea of this chipset design. Being able to swap a board out on the ESC if something goes wrong. But he's doing some really cool stuff. And if you go on to Discord, he's actually on the Blue Jay Discord group. And he's showing pictures of the stuff he's doing here. And he's doing some really cool stuff. He really is. So it's a really interesting guy. Open hardware for the win. But it's going to be a lot of work, people building their own ESCs. It's not going to be something that's simple. Now, this chiplet design in my head would sort of work in the sense of you just have the FETs on little boards because they're the most common to go. And then you wouldn't need great experience to be able to replace them. Some soldering skills to be able to bridge some pads, but nothing fantastic, nothing major. And the idea for me of this was because the FETs are the most common thing to go, but when they go, they also have a habit of burning a hole through the PCB. So even if you can do board repair, not every board can be fixed. Whereas having a chiplet design, there'd be less chance of burning through. Brandon Beans has said he's strongly considering learning rework stuff. I have a small collection of dead boards I could use. Yeah, it's Kickers Just and Blue Red logo, bulk FP. But I've also been thinking, is it time to start looking at singles again and seeing if single ESCs could be the way forward? And even a discussion that was on my Discord was not even mounting them on the arms, but mounting them on a plastic frame, 3D printed, 2 pointing one way, 2 pointing the other, and actually have it as part of the stack, but just in the middle, whether you had to double stack them. So bringing them into the frame, but staving them as singles so you can replace it. And I started having a look around because I'll be honest, I haven't looked at singles for a very, very long time. There's something my wife will be happy about. But having had a look through at the websites, I was looking on Get FPV. It's all a bit confusing on there. But if we look on Race Day Quads, for instance, there are some what looks to be some really quite nice single ESCs out there today. Looking down the pricing here, it's not a dramatic quantity, but the pricing isn't shocking. So we've got Race Day Quads are doing 30 amperes, D-Shot 32 bits. They're doing their own ones. You've got Emax. We've got these Emax Bullet 2s, which are interesting, 2 to 4S. They're not 6S. But look, if we look up here, where we got here, so we got 32. Look at, oh, they're out of stock. Look at these Emax ones. Okay, £15 each. So we're going to be talking £60. Modular ESC. Xidia. Oh, what's this one then? Let me just have a look at that. BL Helios 4-in-1 modular ESC. We'll copy and we'll have a look at that in a second as well. We'll go on to there. I've not heard of that one. Oh, here we go, look. There, look at that. A chiplet design again. There we go. Look at that. So a single, so $12 each out of stock. Wow, okay. That is interesting. That is super. That is basically what I was thinking. That is, you know, similar. Not 100% there. Similar. That is interesting indeed. That is super interesting. So you've got the motor controller and everything on one side, and on the other side you've got the FETs. Wow, that's quite cool. But look, if we're looking, singles can be bought fairly cheap, $14.99. That's an Emax. I don't know how good they're going to be. Emax stuff can be a bit up and down. But there are options out there. There are lots, you know, okay. Even this at $18, it's at the higher end of the pricing. But at least you can replace them. The only problem is getting manufacturers to make something long enough that you're going to be able to get it sometime down the line. But even, you know, you've got the SpeedX, some of these iFlight ones down the bottom. Oh, no, we don't want them. I was also looking on, what did we have on Get FPV? I was looking down on here. So what did we have? Lumineer, 3 to 6S, Opto D-Shot. What else we got? Even T-Motor ones, look. 2 to 4 SK, no, not 6S. Speedix GS30, 2 to 4S. The Slimline ones. So there are a lot of options out there if you didn't want to go back to first. Because we're binning a lot of stuff right now. And if we, if we look at what you get on some of these ESCs, if we look at some pictures here. So on each ESC, if we look at the Foxeer Reaper, you've got, let me go to it. If we look on this, right, we've got on this side, all of the FETs. On the other side of the board, you've got more FETs, you've got the motor drivers and the MCUs. And we're up to STM F4s already. So there's a lot going down the drain. You might burn one FET here. It may burn a hole through the board, killing the ESC. But you're binning a lot of good hardware. So there is a good argument to be had for going back to singles. There really is a good argument to be said for going back to singles. It does complicate the wiring more. No one's going to make anything long enough. That's the problem. What would be really good is to see some of these manufacturers now start bringing out ESCs that were sort of in the modular but capable of being soldered together category to be able to make 2 stacks from it. Most people could get away with a double stack anyway of ESCs if they had to. Even if you could have a double stack with 2 and 2, that a 20 by 20, there's a good argument to be had for trying to recover. Now, this may all go away. This whole problem is due to the chip shortage, and we were all happy to bin stuff some time ago, and we might get back there again. But if things do continue the way they are, we're going to have to start looking at ways to be able to reuse the gear we're using. There has been some questions over, is it worth buying expensive ones or sticking with cheap ones? Now, okay, there's talk, you can't get anything. Well, can we? Okay, let's have a look. What can we get? So motor ESCs, 4-in-1s, 32-bit. Let's see what is available. Like TBS Power Cube, yeah, that was I remember the Power Cube, yeah. If we go price low to high, okay, you can still get, look at the Mamba, 45 amp, 3 to 6S, $48. So things aren't all lost. Yeah, things still on, funny enough, Jimmy Insanity said, the Mamba, there we go. 45 is $48. Things aren't terrible. 40, that's the 55, is only 52. So they're okay. You got even the T-Motor is coming up reasonable. You're getting into the higher end here now. Taking the whole thing apart. Yes, that is the nice thing about singles, is you can do that. You can just put them on the arms. I think, that if you're breaking arms regularly, there's an argument to be had that you're going to want to have it in the stack. But there is ways around this stuff. If we look at that T-Motor there, I've got one of them on the bench here. They're still up in the big price, $93. But it is interesting, and we're going to have to start thinking about things because this chip shortage may not be going away. We may not see a change on this anytime soon. But I did have this thought on this modular ESC. It would be amazing if a manufacturer did it and it was like, we're going to do this for the next 5 years. I've saved my blown boards up, just investing in a solder station. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of rework the last couple of weeks here. I've got, I'm not sure. Hopefully someone might be sending me some, so we might be making some content on repairing them. open source hardware, it's just a lot of work, terminal insanity. You know, yeah, an open source ESC where you could just, worst case, you print a hole in the board, you just build a new board. It's just time and effort. And is it worth it at $50? That's the question. At $50, you're spending a lot of time picking and placing components. What would be great is if we could have a modular ESC that can be mass produced, but you could then swap out individual parts, boards, little bits. TBS did have a solution that stack, the old stack in the old days. That was 4 ESCs on a stack. You know, there are ways of doing it. There are ways of them making a modular ESC in such a way that you could just swap one motor's FETs out. So, you know, it would be cool to see. It would be nice for us not to be creating so much e-waste. There is another argument here, is do we make ESCs bigger slightly and add more protection so they don't blow? There is another argument here. A lot of the ESCs tend to blow is because they don't have decent protection. You can get around these things. You can add protection to FETs. You can do this stuff, but it takes up size and space. Fox here about to drop so much cheaper version of their Reaper ESC line, about 50% of the current price, which is nice. That'll be cool. With giving up flight or learning to rework. How is Johnny? How are you, my friend? I hope you're well. Yeah, you know, a goodie. I haven't blown one for quite some time. I'll be honest. I haven't blown one in a while. They are way overbuilt. Yeah, the Fox here does a good job. Do you know, let's be realistic. So if we go price high to low. Where are they? You'd love to say the Fox ears are the most expensive, but they are not. Flywoo, take that. Yeah, you can see it's a well-built ESC. Not that much protection, mind. Doesn't look anything particularly special. That's why I like this Foxy Reapers. To a YouTube superstar that frequently sees stuff, it ain't a problem. But the average, yeah, I don't frequently use it. Paramount. I pay for everything for the most part I get, including my ESCs. So it's an expensive hobby. Unfortunately, FPV is an expensive hobby. I've had this little bit of a rant on HDZero. You've had some people complaining about cost, and frankly, it's stupid. Complaining about cost on digital FPV is like buying a Ferrari and complaining about the cost of fuel. No one needs digital. It's nice, it's great, it's brilliant, it looks much better, but you don't need it. You can fly analog. The same stands for ESCs. There are cheap ESCs out there. You can get singles for $10 each. And if you blow one, you can just replace the one. There are options out there. We choose 4-in-1s because it's nice. We choose 4-in-1s because it does a nice build. There is a lot of ways to save money in FPV. No one has to have the best flight controller. You can do a build very, very cheaply, and it will work very, very well. The key isn't so much the hardware. The key is the right components. I run TVS and caps, yeah, on everything since I moved to digital. Yeah, it's a good one. And you're seeing all of the iFlight ESCs, I believe, have TVS diodes on board now. But the FatTech spike absorber is a very good bit of kit, well worth a look. I would love to be in the class, even YouTube's to one ESC stack, but to race I need about 20 per 30 per year. We buy. Or the toy grade viewing shills. Yeah, trust me. The people I upset, I always buy, for the most part. Don't get me wrong, what have I received this year? I'll be completely open. So, Radio Master, Zorro. Thank you, Radio Master. Very appreciative of that. I think that's it. Oh, Beta FPV Express RS module. There you go. You don't need new goggles every 2 years, no. And in many ways, there's certain things I prefer to buy rather than be sent because you can talk about it. Do you know, in a different way? You know, I talk about things exactly the same. You know, here's an example. Radio Master sent me that radio. I will tell you the truth. If I didn't like it, I would box it back up and send it back to Radio Master and say, you know what, this isn't going to work for me. Rather than do a review, as you've sent it to me, and rather than do a review slagging it off, I'll send it back. Or I'd just say, look, guys, it didn't work out for me. I try to play fair with companies. I don't sit there and just slag something off for the reason of it. But I will also say when something's shit. And I'm not afraid to do that. And if they're happy for me to go ahead with the review, then I'll say how it is. But receiving something for free doesn't change my opinion on anything. I will always give my honest opinion. It's as simple as that. Okay, so ESCs. We're going to have to see. You know, things are getting tight. We're going to be in this chip shortage for some time yet. We're not getting out of this for a while, guys. You know, we're in this for the long haul. Things are expensive. I bought the T-Motor the other day. It's like 90 quid ESC back there. There's a lot of problems in the chip industry right now. You know, and FPV is an expensive hobby. You know, I'm not someone that crashes that much, or most of my builds I don't. I have my crasher build, which is my practice craft, but I'm not racing. I'm not flying between buildings and stuff a lot. It's not something I do a huge amount of, so I don't break that much stuff. Doesn't mean I don't break things, but I'm not someone else. But the likes of John 5, and all of those guys, they're ripping stuff apart in days, you know. It's just the reality. If you didn't like the Zorro, I would unsubscribe. I have to say it's a good radio. I have to say. I have some, you know, there is some stuff I think could be better, but that's always the case. Going through a lot of conformal coating as well. So, guys, if you've got any questions, we're going to give it another 5 minutes and I'm going to wrap this one up tonight. If there's any questions, please do put them in the chat. So, what have we covered? We've covered. I was going to ask someone. I was going to say something. I was going to look at. Someone asked something. Can someone remind me what it was? I said, "We'll." Oh yeah, we'll look at that in a minute. I don't remember what it was. So I go back up the chat. I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll talk about that as well." Anyone remember? Going up the chart. Is it before Radio Master? Oh, it was that Axis. It was that Axis flying thing. I can't remember their website. Have you seen they've dropped the price of the Thor? Shock horror. Right. There we go. I don't know what to make of this. It looks interesting. HDZero repair. Yeah, we'll talk a bit about that quickly as well. Class 6. I really don't know what to think about this. Interesting, yes. No question at all. I don't want to hate on them for it, John. I'm glad they're trying to do it. They're definitely doing stuff differently, that's for sure. Interesting. Do you know what? I'd love to fly it and try it to see how it was. I'd love to fly it and try it and see how it was. But there looks like a lot of weight here. Do you know what I mean? It's interesting. But I'm just not sure what to make of it. I'm not sure what to make of it. What's it weigh? 385 grams. But they are trying. And they have dropped the price of the Thor module. For those who don't know, they have dropped the price of this thing. This was over $100 on its own at one point. But now you can get the module for $84. I still don't particularly like the design. I think it's a bit weird. You know, you got this cable that's having to come out the bottom. I just... it's hard to say, yeah, why I'd buy that. You know, they've got it there on a Mambo, look. It's a lot of module when you don't need it to be a lot of module. It should just be in a JR box and in the back. I don't know what the thought was on this. I don't know what the thought was. It's very well made, but you know, there you go. Beta FPV 1 watt Express RS module with an LCD display and control functions. That goes in the back of a bay. You know, it's hard to argue. Is that better built? Probably. But this works absolutely fine. It outputs 1 watt of power. It's drains the battery on the Mambo like it's freaking sucking water out of with a straw. It really does take the battery down. But yeah, it's a bit. I don't get the design. I don't want to hate on them, but I just think, why? Oh my god, community build. No, what's that? Have you got a link? Or let me have a look. Let me. No, I haven't. No, I haven't seen that. It's a folding FPV drone. All mine fold eventually. Yeah, exactly. All drones fold if you hit them hard enough on the wall. So, okay, what am I going to show you quickly? We've been doing some board repair this week. We've done a repair on HDZero VRX. Let me just find the right folder. Make sure I mute this because I don't want the audio. I just want to check there was audio. I got worried then there wasn't audio. We've done a repair on the HDZero VRX board this week. We had a one that came in which was dead. So this is the VRX board itself. For those who haven't seen one before, it was on the bench doing various tests on it. And the actual issue on this board was the fuse, which is located here. There is a fuse on it on the input, which goes through here, through here. You've got power regulation on here, and the fuse had blown, basically. So we've replaced that on the board. We did all of the tests on it, making sure that everything was working, and that one's going back to its owner this week. So we've done that one this week. And I've also now uploaded images onto repair.wiki for this as well. So for those who don't know, I do upload a lot of images of what I've been doing on some of this stuff onto repair.wiki, which is this website here, which is to do with Lewis Rossman. Who knows who Lewis Rossman is? And it's got stuff for phones and everything, but there's a drone section. And under the drone section, there's all sorts of stuff for the DJI FPV, as well as Skydio and HDZero. And I've been concentrating on the HDZero stuff, the FPV stuff. So if we go onto here, I've now upgraded a page for this. You can see that matte, where they recognize the color. It's the new desk pad. So we've got uploaded high-res images. They're not as high-res as I would like, but I've got high-res images. Northridge Fitch I haven't watched him in a while. And I've also done a dead module blown on fuse power board shown here. So I show you what the issue is. That was a quick repair that I'd done, and then I took the images. Unfortunately, I had to use a smaller fuse because I didn't have any 1206s. I only had 0603s, but it's fine. It's got a jumper wire across it as well. It's absolutely fine. It's on that side, and there's a little bit of a jumper wire there. It's meant to be a 1206, but how do I get back out? There. But I show how to do the repair. So I'm going to be adding more on there as time goes on, and we're going to be showing showing more repairs on that and showing them. I've got the VTXs to go up. I haven't done them yet. I haven't done the images on them yet, but we've done a race V2, or sorry, a race V1. All the videos are recorded. That's the VRX. If we go to the VTX repairs, we've got the race V1 where we did a repair on this one. This one had a blown voltage regulator, which was down to earth. This one did. So we're having a look at this. There was no physical damage on this VTX, but this voltage regulator here is down to earth. It turns out we had a look, and this was just inspecting the board under the microscope to make sure everything looked correct. There was nothing actually, you know, missing or hanging off. I could see something here. I wasn't sure if that was some damage on the board. Just got the tweezers in just to check what that was. So yeah, did a visual inspection on this one. Can't remember how far. And then we started just doing some testing, finding out where the voltages were, checking for continuity on the diode, because there is an input protection diode on this VTX. So the circuit path on this VTX is fairly straightforward. You've got voltage comes in here, goes through this diode into this transistor, through this transistor into the BJT, into this 4302 voltage regulator, which goes as a buck converter, and that goes down to there. So that was down to earth, and it was killing all power on the input, basically. So we ended up replacing him. Is it this one here? I'm still testing at this point, I think. Oh no, I think we've done some heat. Ah, yeah. So we then end up getting the hot air in and getting him off. I can't remember if I already taken it. Oh, there we go. So doing a bit of preheat on the board and then lifting him off. There we go. And then we replace that voltage regulator, and he's now up and running. So that one is done. But we also had another one. Is it this one? Look at this one. This is really worth watching. He doesn't, but he has been answering questions. Now, this is going to be something I've seen a couple of times now. So this is a Whoop version 1 board. And what you can see here is the MIPI chip is cracked. Now, the reason this happens, and I've seen this more than once, you've got the MIPI connector here, but this MIPI connector is reversed. So the way they've designed this is you put it on backwards, so the cable comes out down here, and you flip it over the top, and you hold it in place with a cable tie through these two holes. So the problem is you're then putting pulling pressure on this chip, and because it's on a second PCB, because you basically can't get the full size chip now, so they're having to use it's the same version chip, it's just on a different scale. It's a different package, so they're using a conversion board rather than rework the PCB, which is absolutely fine. Companies do it all of the time, but because of the cable tie goes through there, if you have a crash, you end up cracking the MIPI chip. So that is another one. Now, I have swapped the chip, but I'm not getting success. Problem is, it needs reballing. I was hoping to get away without reballing it. I haven't. I now don't know if the replacement chip I've done has failed. What do we do here? I can't remember which video this is. Yeah, we replaced it. I can't remember. Yeah, so we did a replacement on him. It's very, very difficult because you've got two boards. Doing this as a replacement is very hard. It's not easy at all because both boards want to move because you've got the top and the bottom board. Bit too much heat there. Trying to get it in. It needs reballing. The very basics is both boards need reballing, unfortunately. Trying to get it in, hold them in, and then go back in with the heat and try and float them back to where they should be. And they'll start. You can see the bottom board is shifting there. Could you see it? This is the problem. You're trying to settle the top chip. So what I ended up doing was doing the top board onto the bottom board on the bench on its own, and then fitting the bottom board. Captain tape may hold it. I tried with Captain, and it just shifts. It just shrinks a bit, and it moves. It's so tight. It's difficult. The trick is, as you see there, it was just, I was like, I'm not happy with any of this. So I took it back off, and I was like, no, we're not getting anywhere here. I thought, oh, do we try? But no. So I gave up on that bit in the end. But there is a trick to it. What I've worked out is you could reball the IC to the bottom, the board on the bench, and then reball the board to the board very carefully. I have, though, found a source for the MIPI chip in China, but they're about $10 each. I'm just not sure it's worth it. 2 soldering alloys with different melting points. Yeah, they may do that. Nut washer through the zip tie holes. Yeah, that's the problem. So we've recovered the Race V1. There's another one which I've recovered, but we've got 2 more which look completely dead. I don't know that too much flux. Yeah, you know, I was going for flux. Yeah, I was going for flux because I tried everything else, Bruce, on that one. What it needs is, they're both good. The board's undamaged. What they need is reballing. If they reballed them, tiny nut washer through the zip tie holes to hold the bottom board. Yeah, you could. The only problem then is you're going to melt them, whatever you do. What I think the solution is my thought on this is, if I was going to redo it, is you reball both. You then do the chip onto the top board on the bench, then place it correctly and just direct down gentle air heat until it melts. It will melt the balls on the top one, but as long as there's no movement, it won't move, and the balls then should go onto the second one. But you'd have to jig it rather than have it done by hand. Place it under and then just go gentle heat and allow them to reball. That's how I would probably do it. But and 2 boards at the same time potentially, yeah, do both that way. You can't do that by hand. It's too difficult. I'll be honest, I thought I got it today. I spent a bit more time this morning on it, and I thought I'd done it. I'll be honest, I looked at this and thought, this is looking good, but it doesn't work. So, I don't know. I might order in some balls and try and reball it manually. I'm tempted to order in some stencils and balls, but you can get the full-size chip still from China, which I could just take the second board off and just replace the full-size chip. But it's like a 40 high-temp glue. Yeah, it wasn't glued, Bruce, but you are right. That would work. You could underfill it, couldn't you? What you could do, Bruce, is do them one at a time. So do the bottom board first, ball it, and then underfill, and then glue it. And then top board. The problem with the tape shrinks. Even Captain tape shrinks. The tape won't hold it. This is too small to tape. There's just not enough space to do it. Glue would do it. You could put a dab of underfill or something there. High temp silicone might be an idea. Glue it and then add the chip. Yeah, that might be the way. But I've got to reball both. It's a lot of work in itself. I might order 0.3 balls as an exercise just to do it. Because I think that I have got the chip off the other board. I think it's okay. Unless it's burnt out, because it did bridge a few times. But yeah, you don't want a lot of flux. But yeah, BJ, this is, it's not something I've got a lot of experience with. It's not something I am great at. It isn't something I am you know, at this point, I'm flying by the seat of my pants on this, coming up with ways to do this that work. Handheld hot air isn't necessarily the right way. Someone said putting it on a hot plate. Unfortunately, there's too many components on the back of the board. You're going to melt something else. There's no way to get a back mount on. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? I do think if you reballed them both and double stacked them with low air and heat and just watched it like they do GPUs, you'd probably get it. The problem is hand air this, just no. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. I may order in to see if we can do it. And build a jig for the handset. Pardon me, Sheer, but how can I get the board's components before they start damaging? But how can you get the board's components before? How hot? Probably not as hot as I've already done. There is a very, very fine line. Okay, so every chip will have a recommended maximum soldering temperature. They actually have a heat chart. So when these things are done, what they do is they do a couple of stages of heating. So for those who don't know, in manufacturing, when they do it is you have like a ramp of heat. So you bring it up to say like 200 degrees, 210, 220. And then they sort of slowly ramp it up so the board expands and everything expands at a nice rate. And then there's like a shoot up to the melting temp and then down. And then a gentle slope off. And it's a very special process. And the chip is only at the very high temperature for a very short period of time. With hot air, it's different. I'm running at about 350 to 370 because this is lead-free solder. You need the heat or it won't melt. What I've started to do is bring my air down and the heat up. So on the station, I've been dropping the air to like 30% rather than it being 40, 25, 30% and a bit more heat. But the silicon will take the heat. It will do it. The bigger danger is things like electrolytic capacitors and things like that because they tend to go bang if you put too much heat next to them, for those who've watched the live stream before. But yeah, you can get away with a lot, but you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful. But BGA reballing is tough. It's really, really hard. It's something I want to do more practice on, I'll be honest. But doing it by hand isn't the way to do it. What they actually do, proper BGA reballing is not done with air at all. They use like heat lamp or elements is how they do it. So there's no movement. Taking 2 years to get this looming controller working lots. I'm just getting the 5S. Reballing when you got Parkinson's isn't fun. No, it's an extremely specialized skill, reballing. You know, and when you look at the guys who do it on GPUs, let me just find, you know, you guys can search for this, but there are people on YouTube who do it. BGA reballing. Not reballing, rework. And they usually use a dedicated unit to do it. So here we go. So we've got one here. We've got to watch the advert first, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, even, you know, they don't do a lot of balling. They do on small BJs, but you have units like this, right? So you mount the boards on. You have a proper BJ balling station. Yeah, I've got the microscope is, for me, mine is there. It's one of the best things I've bought. So they mount them on. Let's have a look. And what you then do is they've put, you know, foil tape over the areas. Let's come forward. So what they're doing now is setting the temperature. So if I show you this, what you've got here is a heat in element. You know, this isn't air really. This is a heating element which pushes the heat in. Have they got any close-ups? What's really cool... No, I don't think they have. There's got to find a better one than this. There's some where you see the balls melt. It's really cool when you actually see the balls melt. You can do it other ways. You can do it by hand. It's practice. Amateurs, professional use. Propane torch. Okay, you know, Lewis Rossman's got a video on it. Lewis is an expert. You can do small chips by hand. It can be done. Do you know what I mean? The pop rate to solder BGA chips. Reballing. Look, guys, you know, this is the task. Look, Flux. He's going to clean it. And he's going to reball this by hand. Right? So he's cleaning off all of the solder. Let's have a look. There he goes. Look, he's placing all of the balls by hand. That is a lot of work. Good man. He's getting there. He's getting there, look. Look at him now. Look. So what he's then doing is heating them. And put balls everywhere, but not on the chip. Yeah. Draymond does ball stencil and solder paste instead, please. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. See, look at that. He's reballed that. Good lad. Good lad. Yeah, not too much flux. I'd put a ton on just to see if I could float mine in. So he's then cleaning the board. Yeah, it's clever stuff. The boys who do this by hand. Cleaning the board. Bit of flux. Spreads it over so it's not too much. Place the chip on. It's an FPGA, that is, as well, I think. So he's getting it right. And this is where you want no movement. Lewis is such a badass. Yeah, Lewis is very good. $390 he's gone at, look. Big nozzle, and he's just reballing. Has he? That's interesting. Yeah, so I'm going to have to try reballing this one. It's on my list. I'm going to go for it. What's really cool... Yeah, there you go, Zuck. So, it's all doable. It's all achievable. But doing it by hand is crazy. Code is very good. The Code 3DR, I watch him. He's very good. Not lose your mind when it fails. Yeah, because a lot of the time you're doing this, you're trying Celtium. A lot of the time you could be doing this 2 or 3 times. You've got to be doing this 2 or 3 times. BJ balls melting. When you melting. When you see the balls melt, it's quite a good. Here we go. See, look at this. I saw this. I've seen this one before. So you're watching the temperature ramp now. So this is a visually. This is the actual process. Look at the chip settle. Look, and it's shifting to the side, and boom. There it is. It's an awesome process. It really, really is an awesome process. There they go. And it drags the chip. You see, there it goes. It drops and then settles to the side. It's always very cool to see. Yeah, surface tension makes the world be round. Melting BGA balls is another one. Let's have a look at this one quickly before we finish up. Set to 350 hots. I go to 380 sometimes. Depends what I'm soldering. More heat is always good at times. And you'll see them. You'll see them look. But again, the trick here they go, look, is you'll notice there's no movement. It's the heat without too much movement. There we go. And then she's in. All settled. So that's it. I've got one I might be able to fix, but I got two options. I'm either buying a load of solder balls or I buy a pre-balled chip for $10 and see if I can get this one working. Yes, which is even more brittle than the bloody leaded stuff. Heads all the DJI baseballs. Yeah, it's a hard task. So we're gonna see. $10 if I can get one over from China. I might just do that. Be easier than reballing the chip, but it'll be a good process to do it anyway. Oh God, here we go. Oh. Thank you, but bye-bye. Unbelievable these days. It's getting worse, isn't it? YouTube is getting worse. It really is. So, guys, that's it from me. If you've got any questions, please do let me know quickly before we finish it up. What hot air gun do I recommend? I use the Atom. I got the Atom. So mine is the ST2832. The Atom 862. It's a good air gun. It's either that or the Quick. The Quick is very good, but I got the Atom. Bots attracted to hot balls. I bet you it's the term I used, isn't it? I told them to stay home in the kitchen. But no. Light shots with a Mini 3. No, I haven't yet. Has he put some more stuff up tonight? I have seen Lewis, the guy who's got one in the UK, but I haven't watched all of it. But no. So, guys, that's it from me. Thank you for spending some time with me. If you are new here, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. Before we go, please do give us a like if you haven't done it already, or a dislike for me, please, Bruce. I hope you are all safe and well. Thank you for spending some time with me. Thank you, Type. I really appreciate it. I want to thank everyone for spending some time. Any 10-inch quads you tried before, not gone 10-inch. Nothing in my life is 10 inches. Oh, my God, it's back. Oh my God, YouTube. That's shocking. Is that the same account? Spamming is back. That's crazy. Right. Thank you for spending some time with me. We will be back same time, same place next week. Please look after yourselves. Stay safe. Review will be going up this week for the Sky Zones. Lots of videos to come. There's lots going out at the moment. Taken from a single note, but can I stop the spam? Yeah, I know. I know, Bruce. It's ridiculous. Please stay safe, guys, and I will speak to you soon. Thank you very much.